Hi Sally, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Adam?
Good, good. Yeah, I'm great, thank you. It's good to have you back on the podcast again.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I've been looking
Yeah,
forward to. And it's been quite a ride ever since I spoke to you last, and a lot has happened. And I can't wait to share it with you.
mm.
Um, Also related to the whole podcasting thing that I've recently started. So yeah.
No, that's great. No, I'm excited to hear it. I mean, like, so you've started like your podcast, and I think you've got like you've been plowing through the episodes that you've been doing. You've got like nearly
Yeah.
15 episodes now in like quite a
About I've done 11, and I
yeah.
started in July. And it's been pretty cool. So the last time we spoke, I said that I think I should do a podcast, and this was on this video podcast that we were doing on Zoom. And I said, yes, I will. And the next thing you see is I think it was a week after, I
Yeah.
just felt the flow of things that, yeah, I should just do it, right? And I took the plunge, and I started with the first episode with a good friend that I had, and she's a very spiritual person, and she always has very well to say to me, and we always talk about really interesting topics. So I said, why don't you come on my podcast? And she said yes. So it started with her, and it went up to other wonderful people. Like I had a guy who's a filmmaker, and he's also a stock market person. And then there was a person who is a musician, but he's spiritually connected. And then somehow I realized the stories I wanted to tell, because my podcast is called UntoldStoryTold, were like, no matter what field you're from, like whether you're a advertiser, or if you are in teaching, or you're in mental health, everyone has an inner story. Like they have something happening within them where they are doing a self-growth analysis, or there's something inside that everybody thinks about, ponders about, and the struggles they go through. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has a story. So what I do in my podcast is eventually I started realizing that this is what I want to tell. And I always wanted to do this, share people's stories from the heart, so they can tell us more about what's actually happening rather than what we see outside. Because more of us get connected at the heart center, I think. And so it started flowing. It started getting into the flow. And I was so happy. Like I was on episode 10 in 2 weeks. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And the reason I find it so amazing is because I've always liked this kind of a thing. Like I've always thought that I will do a podcast, and it was just not happening. So it goes back to last year. I came up with the name Untold Story Told with the vision that I will be doing a podcast, because I was in that state where I was manifesting, I was dreaming, and I used to imagine myself talking to people. Like I'm talking to a number of people, and I'm telling them about my thoughts. And I told a friend who's a very good friend of mine, and he said, well, you will do that one day. And I said, well, I'm just talking to people in my living room, like they're imaginary people. And he said, no, you will do this, because if this is something that if you're doing whatever and it comes to you and you go to that room and you start doing this, then this is something that your heart wants to do. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's see what happens. And what I did to myself was kind of a self-sabotage after that. Like I started looking into how to do a podcast and made it very technical for myself. And that happened is because I started looking at courses, people telling you how to do podcast, and join this, join that, and we will teach you, because we are the bridge to get you there. If you don't go bridge, you won't know. So anyway, long story short, I was doing a lot of self-sabotage along the way. And I thought, I need to, because I'm also a filmmaker. So I was like, I need to focus on my film, because I need to focus on something, right? Because my head was everywhere. I was like, I want to do a podcast. I want to make a film. I want to do everything. So I had to send myself, I had to bring myself down and think, if I need to do something, it has to be that film. And let me just accomplish that goal. And then I other goals, right? Some things are dreams, some things are goals, some things needs to be prioritized. So I made my filmmaking a priority. But in the heart of my heart, I had this little podcaster in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it happened. And now I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And I think like you said, it's that kind of journey, isn't it? And all those kind of things like falling together, you know, kind of things happen kind of at the right time and they kind of all fall into place. And I think, like you said, when you want to do something, it's like me as well. I wanted to do it, you know, a couple of years ago, but then you can get distracted with what's happening. But I think, you know, it's great what you're doing. And I think like, you know, you're passionate about it and you've kind of found something that, you know, you enjoy and love alongside, you know, other things that you're doing. And, you know, like you can kind of see how far you've come from when you started and things like that. And I think, like you said, we've all got our own story. And people don't sometimes showcase that. They kind of keep it hidden away.
Yeah.
And podcasting, people can share, you know, like you said, what's within them. And I think, like, you know, that's what you've had.
You would know this better than anybody else. Like, look at it, because you are doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's it is quite interesting.
And I think there was a point in my life where I was, when I was filmmaking and when I used to edit my short films, there was a time that I was also doing wedding videos for people. And I was like, I was a one woman gig. I recorded. I even tried to do like the multicam thing. So I used to put one on the tripod and one like handheld and following them.
Oh, wow.
When you have to follow them, you literally go on your knees and whatnot you do. And you have to do it like, you don't care like what people think of you. And so I was able to do all that. And I'm very grateful for those moments where I learned how to do this. And the birds just want to talk at the same time. Time to sleep. It's 10:30 p.m. here in Sydney, Australia. And coming back to what I was saying was when I used to do those projects, I was filming it. Firstly, I was visioning it for them, directing it for them, because I didn't just film it. It wasn't just a wedding video. It was like a thought process behind it. Like, I'll tell your story, the emotions behind it, and it will be like your story. So I had that vision and they used to like it. And then I used to sit down at nights just editing it like crazy. Like I used to stay up till 2 a.m., whatnot, just editing. And I used to sit on 5 doing it, and I used to get obsessed. So I would say the word obsessed here is used in a way where I would be like, I have to tell their story. It is up to me. I didn't get paid, but I was more in like, I used to get into the story that they had about themselves. Like if they had like a love story or the reasons they got married, I used to get into that. And then I wanted to do right by it. So whatever version I saw of me editing it, I was like, I need to make it better. So I used to spend a lot of time, just like an editor would be spending time on doing like a short film edit. This is how much time I spent on it, like 2 months minimum. And they knew this, like it was in the contract. So what I'm trying to say is, in that process, when you do this whole thing, like where you're like pretty much giving birth to a project, you get to it. I learned how to do the whole business side of it the hard way. That's another story. But I used to attach to it, and when I used to give it to them, I actually felt like I was giving a piece of my heart to them, and they would be like, yeah, whatever, thank you so much. But and then they would go their merry way, and till I didn't get.
You didn't get any what, sorry?
Sorry?
What did you say? You didn't get any?
No, I was saying, so they used to go away, and that's how it happens. That's normal, right? You take your product and you go away. So for me, it was like, till I didn't get another project, I used to be a bit like still stuck in the previous project where I'm like, wow, that was such an amazing thing that happened. And I used to get too involved with that project. So and then I used to look for the next project. What happens in that is, and I'm comparing this to podcasting, is that I sort of like was not able to let go of my projects. I got too attached to them. And that's why my creative process was also getting stagnated, because I was too emotionally connected to every project that I gave forward, which is good because people liked it and it was from the heart. But at the same time, I wasn't able to let go, and I have like other things to do, like, right, I have to go forward. So with podcasting, what has happened is that when you create one episode, you go to the second one, and then the third one, and the fourth one. So even if there was some like things that you didn't learn, like that you needed to know or learn from the first one, you can do better in the second one, and then the third one, and then you're like, I'm just hopping to more episodes, and you just keep growing. And that process, compared to how it was, has changed everything for me. I am a flow now. I was feeling like I'm very stagnant as a creator, as my creative process. My creative process, the reason I mentioned my previous process and now is to tell you as a comparison. Before I was too slow, going step by step, and now it's like I'm running.
Yeah.
And that new thoughts, it's like regenerating new cells and think bigger. So that's what's happening with podcasting. That's another magical thing that's happening, which is my inner journey.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So like you said, through podcasting, from like what you said when you was doing like the filmmaking, it was like, you know, like your passion was going into it and you was getting like attached to your projects that you was doing, you know, and that was like a much kind of slower process where you felt like, you know, you're just walking with it. And like with like podcasting, there's like so many avenues to it. And, you know, like it's good that you kind of felt like it's kind of like shifted like how you was. Because I think, like you said, with video editing, it's quite, you know, like it can be a slow process, I suppose, where you're piecing it all together. And then it's that one set thing. Whereas podcasting, like you said, you've done one, you've done another one, and you're like learning through doing that. And I think that's, you know, it's quite amazing when you do it because you don't really think of it having that impact, but it kind of does because you're like, you'll be, you know, it's like consistency as well. You're building momentum with it.
Yeah, that's it. And I think for me, it was very important to move. And I was very in the past stories of what I have done in terms of my filmmaking, of my creative things that I've created. I mean, I had a life where once I had created such things where I was on stage, I was talking to people, creating change, doing things for charity. And I was creating things so I could move people, so I could get them to understand different perspectives, to tell them that we are all same at an emotional level, that we're not different from each other. So all these things I have once done. And then there came a whole time of stagnation where when I was home with my kids, as I've said this before in one of the podcasts, I didn't know what my next thing is. Like, is it to do a job in an office, like look for work like that, go through the classified section and look for jobs like that? Or should I be, because I was not able to connect the idea of earning money with my creative endeavors. I mean, I have done my master's in media arts and production. And I thought that would be my ticket to getting jobs in the media, but it's not that easy, especially here in Australia, unless you have a mentor who is holding your finger through it all. And for the very beginning part, I did have a mentor, and just in those 12 months that I had a mentor, I was able to produce a film that was a short film that I made here, which was made to look like it was made in Afghanistan. And I ended up winning a best short film award for it. And I ended up getting a distinction at university for it because I had a mentor. And that makes me think in my life, like the way I am, the way I shine is when I have someone around me who has that energy of just giving me growth, giving me that. There's some people read books and it gives them empowerment. Some people, you know, they would listen to some lectures and I would give them some kind of like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do next. You know, that little kick, that little adrenaline rush. For me, if I go back, it's always been that human person who has this energy around me, who says, you've done this and just do this and you'll be fine. You're right. So yeah, I'm very grateful for all these things, and now it's podcasting. So I'm so excited for everything to come. And thanks to you for being that little positive energy, little, quite big
Yeah.
positive in my life. Who was able to, like, show me, demonstrate, like, without even telling, like, just by being who you are, that you're actually inspiration for many. So not just me, because I was just like, maybe saw you in that light, but it's important for people who do great things to show other people with humbleness that this is possible for them too. So I see with that, with the people that you talk to, they're all mostly people who are like ready to share their knowledge. There's no, how
Mm,
people sometimes like threatened in a way that, why should I share all of this?
mm,
It's not every pretty much person that you talk to, and I learn from them too. And they're just amazing people who like to tell their amazing stories so that you can become amazing. I love
mm,
that.
mm. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, and I mean, like, I think like what you're doing is amazing, and I'm happy that I've kind of had that kind of positive impact in some way where I've been able to like kind of push you and kind of like guide you in some way with podcasting. Because I remember when we spoke about it, I just kind of was like, this is what you need to do. Just kind of broke it down, and the rest is up to you, kind of thing. And just like you said, it's important to have that kind of guidance. It's important to have like mentors, isn't it? Not just in podcasting, but like someone to take to take reference from, isn't it? And then for them to give you that encouragement in it.
Definitely. People just hope that they have people around them who can give them advice or things like that. And if I look back, I would say it is so important to hold on to every person who has been a positive influence in your
Mm,
life, because the more you go on in life, uh,
mm,
uh, you will realize that not everyone is there, really, really there for you, no matter how you evolve or what you become. People will be very choosy about whether they still want to be with you. But those few people who are, you could say, a part of our human tribe, who
mm,
understand us, who need to hold on to them, because they help us with our self-growth. So as they say, that you are a sum of the 5 people that you hang out with or talk with, right?
mm, mm,
It's very true. And I've forgotten that for a certain time of my life. And the moment I started focusing on it, and I was like, who are those 5 people? And I was like, wow, it makes sense now. Like, how do I navigate? And
mm,
my thing about my recent spiritual awakenings that I've had. And I am totally into self-growth now, and not looking back. And
mm,
I'm working in increments now. Some people just go and make the big move or make the big change. I am doing this in a very slow way, which is helping me realize that if I need to become in the new me, which I like to become, then I need to let it seep in, right? We
mm,
can't just something which is going to be you in a better form. You can't rush through it. You can't just become it. Yes, you can envision becoming it, and you can say, I am embodying that. But the truth is that it's totally up to you. You need to be nurturing to yourself. You need to be compassionate to yourself in the process of self-growth. And if it's in increments and people can't see any kind of change, then that's fine. People don't matter. It matters what you do. So if in a day, like you or me, if we as content creators, we just put up one post someday, and
mm,
someday we just posts. It's our flow. It's our journey. It's what we feel like
mm,
doing. People like it, they like it. They don't. It's your choice whether you want to come to my page or just want to go away. I mean, nobody, we do it because we feel it as our higher self wanting to share this with other people, because we believe that everyone has a higher self that they need to
mm.
tap in, that they need to look into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's a really good point. And I think like what you said, like the people you surround yourself with, and the things you consume is kind of what you become, isn't it? And like I said, I think we can often forget about that. And when you think about it, you know, it kind of makes sense. You know, like the people you're talking to and the people you're kind of vibing with, you know, like, you know, it really stands out to me when something does kind of connect to me and when it doesn't now, because you kind of become attuned to what feels right and what doesn't, you know, through people, through, you know, what you look at. And I think, like what you said, with social media and putting out content, that's quite a good level to reach, where you can kind of decide what resonates with you and what you feel like you should put out, and not thinking about what are people going to think if I post this, or posting it because you want to appear a certain way. Do you know what I mean? If something connects with you, you put it out there. And I think that's what you do. And you know, and putting, you know, when things resonate with you, you put it out there on your media. And I find that, you know, something that I've kind of learned to do as well. And I think, like, it's, you know, we just kind of want to provide and give something that's positive to make a difference in some way.
Yes, and it's the little things you can do with your life too that can then reflect you, as in reflect for you in a way that way you can go towards what you're supposed to achieve. And I for one haven't included one thing in my life, and that's, I've been doing it off and on, but now I think I'm really, really serious about it. And that is having a morning routine where I wake up earlier than my kids, or when everything just starts getting busier. And I have at least 2 hours to myself. And in those 2 hours, I first wake up, I ground my energy, I say my prayers, which is all about gratitude as well. It's like you like, it's an Islamic prayer where you just, for 2 minutes, you just say your gratitude, and you just get into this gratitude vibe. And then I do a meditation, and then I read from a few books, a few chapters that I like, a few paragraphs that I like was like that I've highlighted, and I read them and I think about them. And it's up to you what you want to do, right? But it's that little move that you make where you ground your energy before like the sun comes out, or like before anything that's busy in your life starts. I think it's so important. And also I've read that this is a good time when everything is quiet, like everybody's asleep and they're still not awake and the sun is about to come out. That's a good time for manifesting. So if any interested in sit down and think about what they want to manifest in their lives. It could be simple things that as health and happiness and peace and joy. It's a very good time to sit down, because at that time, as far as I know, it's like that conversation that you need to have with the universe. It's a very clear space around how your messages get straight to the universe. So everybody is like pretty much quiet. So there are only a few voices talking to the universe. That's the concept behind it. So it's so easier to reach out with clarity. So it's, what happens is that if you wake up every morning like that, you eventually get clear about what you want your day to be like, how you want it to pan out. And nobody can take away your inner peace. It's you who gives it to them. So these little painful things where you have to push yourself to get up, and you're like, oh, I don't want to get up. And you're like, who am I doing this for? You're doing it for yourself. So hooray, sit and just jump, even if you don't want to. But be careful about your kids not waking it up. Get so excited in the morning, though I'm like a zombie brushing my teeth. But in my head, I feel like I am Tina Turner or something. I don't know where she's from. Maybe she's a doctor.
No, I completely agree. I think that's so important, like, you know, to have that kind of like morning routine, or to have that routine in general, to kind of give yourself that kind of like clarity, that kind of balance, I think. And especially, you know, if you've got kids, so you can kind of get up a little bit earlier and have that bit of time to yourself, which, like you said, keeps you, you know, that just that bit more grounded, and it gives you that time to do a gratitude list and to look at these things that resonate with you. And I think that just kind of has like, a positive effect, throughout the rest of your day. The things that
Yes.
you do in the morning kind of like roll out. I notice it if I don't do certain things in my routine, in the daytime, I don't really feel the same, or I have to then do it later. So I think
Yeah.
like it's really important like to have that routine and to kind of, manifest and look at the things that, positive and resonate with you. I think that's, people can kind of find it hard to get into routines because it can be difficult. But I think, once you're just doing it and you're doing it, it kind of becomes second nature.
Yeah, it's true. And I speak to so many moms and they're like, my kids are not falling asleep. And I'm in touch with moms whose kids are really small. So in that way, they get amazed by how I still find time to do things like podcasting, things like that, because it's not that my situation is any different. And there was a friend that I was once speaking to who's over, and he's a guy, and he's like, so how do you get time to do all this podcasting? And what do you do all day? Do you stay online all day? You know how people can just be so like just impressionable by what they see. So if they see you online all day, like the green light is on, and if
Yeah.
they see you podcasting and putting up posters, they'll think, oh, she just sits and does this. But I'm multitasking. I am changing nappies and posting. I am picking out the garbage and posting, and I am cleaning the house and leaving it undone and then posting. I'm
Yeah.
having an argument and then posting. It's like a lot of this. And then I'm thinking, what should I post next? So it's and then I'm at the same time, I'm also working at my film. I've not let go of that. That's also going to happen. And it's only because I am podcasting and doing something like a creative process like that, it's somehow given me the energy to look at everything differently. Like if I look at my storyboards now for my film, I have a different view. I'm like, possible, this is possible, this is possible. Before it was like, one day this will be possible. Like my vision of positivity is really coming into like action. It's actually happening. I am actually positive now about my actually working out. From a person, I was a person when I started doing my first script for this one, that the film that I'm going to produce. I was to sit down, I used to look at the paper, and I couldn't. I was like, I used to freeze. I couldn't write even with a pen. I couldn't, because I was like, okay, I'll draw what I want to write. I couldn't draw. And I used to just, always just like thinking, when will this come out of me? Like there was this whole vision of this film that I wanted to do, but it wouldn't come out on paper. So coming from that, and for 5 years not being able to get it out, and this year being able to come up with that whole script, and then getting stuck because of COVID, and then getting to this podcasting thing, I'm just fast forwarding, has now brought me back to my filmmaking processes as a, like, not just talking about it, but being it. I am my film. Talks to me about it, I'm like, this is how it's going to happen. I know it. Like there's no other and buts about it. I'm sure of it. And I think that is why this whole pause happened, is to make me more and more sure about what I want, who I am. And it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's amazing, like, like what you're doing, like, just, and what you said as well, people kind of just see the tip of the iceberg and they just assume, I think sometimes, like, oh, so that's what you're doing. But it's like, well, you're doing this and then this and then this and this and that as well, below the surface. And, that's the thing, you're passionate about it and you're finding the time and you're not making excuses, really. And I think, like, with podcasting, I mean, that's a very creative process in itself as well. And you're very creative in what you're doing. So it's like almost like, that engine's working, and then that's the podcast, with the podcasting. And then from that, that drive and that momentum is then leaked into other areas where you're like, well, if I can do this, and, I can do this.
Yeah.
And it's like that flicking that switch almost.
Yeah, I think it's like also like when you, as I was growing up, I was told like this, everybody is an expert, read about people, who are experts, you have to open books and read about them and just memorize what they did. That was a different vision. And then when I came to Australia and I came to university, it was the first time I had to write a report where I had to question the philosophers or the theorists who actually said something. So it was like, do you agree with them? Like the question was, do you agree with them? If you don't agree with them, then create your own research, like go and do your research and give your reasons for why you don't agree with these, these important people. And that was the first time it shook me. Like at 23, it was like, can I think for myself? Like it was the first time I was like, am I not disrespecting these people who did these great things? Like they were experts and they put in all this effort. Like who am I to, it's this vision that you grow up and that it shakes it for you. It was like when I was 23 and I started thinking, yes, one can think for themselves. One can, nobody is really an expert. So what I'm trying to connect this to is again the same thing about we all learn from each other. Some people have more credentials. Some people have actually day and night, spending their time to have success and be successful. But we're just learning from each other. There isn't things such as someone being too much superior than you or you being inferior from them. We're all together floating, and sometimes somebody's ahead, somebody's behind, but it doesn't mean you're really behind. It doesn't mean you're left behind. It's just like that. It's a trickling effect. Some people are going like, some people are trickling, but we're all in this pond together, right?
Yeah.
To remind ourselves. And I think that's also called being humble, that you think you don't judge people by their appearances, or you don't think you are better than anyone in any case, because we at a soul level, and I always come back to the soul, is that we are just trying to be humans on this earth and trying to just do right by our situations. And it's not easy for everyone. It's not. So if we come with that understanding and then still see people succeeding, we should like clap for each other. We should push each other and just be happy for each other. It should just be natural.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like, like that's the important thing in life, isn't it? I find. And I think, I want to do well in life and things like that. And I think, having that mindset, and when, if you was to reach that place or, to do well, I think, I can be the person to like hold the experiences and that kind of like those lessons and not share it with other people. And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? Like in the world of like, of how we live is, to give advice and to help other people, because I think that's how the world works. If you help someone, that good karma is going to come back to you. Someone's going to help and guide you. I think if you're, everyone's different, but I think what goes around comes around, and I think that's how we learn. And I think that's what we're designed to do. I think to share how we got to that place and to help someone else do the same, and then they can do the same to someone else. And that's that's one of the keys.
Another thing about, as you were saying about like learning from each other and everything, is it's so interesting. It also took me back to the idea of how we can also, when people help each other and they make money with it, there's nothing wrong with it. It's some people think that, okay, if this person is creating music, why is he charging money, or something that comes from a heart space. People get a bit worried about like, why are they charging me so much? I think things that come from the heart and are from learned experiences, and if somebody is giving that to you and that giving that time to you, they deserve the monetary benefit. They are they're changing your life basically with their music, health advice, or people like who are psychologists. They're actually equipping you to become the human. They're actually breathing life into you. So then what dilemma behind like, why are these people making money out of it? And people like us, if we make money out of this one day, then well and good. That's our abundance that's there for us, and we're grateful for it. So as long as you become, so with the morning routine, I was trying to connect this to the morning routine. And the way I'm saying this is that if you wake up saying thank you with the first eye-opening moment, and you just keep thank you. This is what I've read about millionaires, people who make a lot of money and how they do it. It starts with the process of just saying thank you for everything, like picking up a cup and just going like, thank you.
Yeah.
When you give it like to the cashier, or like giving your card even, people forget like, is basically what it has money in it. So just don't think money has to be like things like in your hand. That's your money. So when you even swipe or like tapping it, say thank you. So say thank you for the beginning of the day and go thank you. I've done crazy things such as driving and looking at signposts and saying bless you, thank you, and it just puts this little high vibe, and that helps you everything in your day. You don't have energy to keep themselves going. I used to have a lot of energy drinks too, I will admit, but now it's a totally different life. I learned the power of one thing, and the more I tap into it, I'm like, wow, I'm astounded each and every.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's so important, isn't it? Like, even, it's being grateful for like, even, the small things, like you said, like, a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, the clothes that you have, the food that you have, things like that. And it's I think you have to kind of, like you said, be abundant and, be grateful, because I think sometimes that keeps you in the moment as well, gives you that clarity. Yeah. And I think it kind of, we all, as people, I think we seek the next thing. Sometimes we have something, we want the next thing. And I think, if you're grateful for it, it really puts things into perspective, because you kind of realize that, maybe some people don't have these things. I'm grateful to have this.
Yes. And it's also to change your mindset. It's also to tell yourself that you need to remind yourself to be happy in the moment, because make us unhappy. Like, if somebody, yells at your dog, or like you just didn't like being in a certain place and you're there and you're like, man, why am I here? I should be there. So it's just little things that make you go into this negative pattern. It has to take that little inkling, and then you go into the whirlwind of like negativity. So it's to keep your positive, best self, higher self place, where you can think clearly, look at things with clarity. None of us are like amazingly knowing people who can just do great things by just imagining them. But like what happens is that when you do this kind of a process, is that you think you can do great things, and that's enough. It's that feeling that even if you are like sitting in a cafe, as you said, like looking at that cup of coffee, you're like, I'm good, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Around you might be like looking at it, why is she so grinning so much? Is she talking to some to invisible people? Can she see dead people? But like, I mean, one day we won't be on this earth, and would anybody who's walking beside, like who was walking around at the moment thinking of you like that, would they care? Like, no, like, just do whatever you want to. And I think it's contagious. Whenever I've had a good time at a cafe out and I've met an old lady who has to tell me stories, or like, it's amazing how you attract people towards you the moment you start reflecting positivity.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, that comes into like, energy, doesn't it, as well, and the people that you attract and things like that. And, evolving as a person, and not, trying not to worry about what other people think. And like you said, we all have limited time, and, you want to kind of enjoy your time, because it's important, isn't it? And I think like with like that gratitude and being in the moment, I mean, I think one thing for me that I used to struggle with is like, driving, I'd react and I'd be like quite negative or critical if someone did something. Whereas I noticed yesterday, I pulled out my drive and this guy was flying down the road too fast, and I could have I could have like knocked into him. Then I was like, he looked at me. I didn't react. I just kind of like nodded and went like that, and he nodded and went like that, and there was no problem. And I was like thinking to myself, I handled that quite well, and I stayed in the moment, and I was like, well, nothing happened. Okay, that's on him. Whereas some people could have gone, said something, and then it's a reaction to that, and then it just causes World War VI. So
interesting. Yeah.
So yeah, that's I think I've learned to be more grounded. I think like I said, through little exercises and things, it kind of does help.
Yes, big time. Helps a lot. I think anybody who feels a bit low, I would recommend that they should go for a run. That just does wonders. It does wonders to you if you just go out and run when you're feeling low, or you just dance, or just do something that's upbeat that makes you feel happy. Like some people, it could be sketching, it could be whatever I've read about this. The things you used to do when you were younger is the things that you grew up while growing up when you were a kid, used to do in your room, or something that you used to do in your privacy. That changes everything. Just give me a second.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. It's fine. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, so I was actually talking about the concept that to know what you really want to do in life, or what you will be really good at in life, what this book said was that you need to go back into what you used to do in your free time when you were a kid. So even if it was just reading books, or whatever you did, like for me, I used to come back from school, and in school, I had a very low self-esteem. So I used to just couldn't wait to get back home. And I had my own room. So that was quite lucky, which I just share with my sister, but I used to call it my room because I was the elder sister. So I took that room and I used to lock it up, and I had this stereo, like we call it like the music deck, and used to put like cassettes in it, and I used to record myself singing, record myself doing like a speech, because there used to be like speeches you used to do in classes for different things, like you do it and it's like called the thing where you have a for and against and things like that. So I used to practice on that, and then I used to record myself. I used to record, and then I used to do things like record from the radio, because I loved the radio. So I used to record different radio jockeys talking about things, and I used to do it like all the time. So I had forgotten about that. That was me 14, 15, 16 doing this. And recently I found those cassettes and I was playing them. I was like, what? Like all this time, these cassettes were lying with me, but I didn't have anything to play them on. And I suddenly saw this Walkman in our garage, and my husband was like, it's not mine. I'm like, it's not mine. And I have no freaking idea where it came from. And I could play those cassettes because it had a USB charger on a Walkman, like those.
It's pretty rare.
It's freaky. And when I played it, I heard the 15-year-old me singing this whole song that I had written. Like it had the beginning, the bridge, the end. It was so well structured. I don't write like that anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you doing? She doesn't even know who she is. And I just wanted to go back and give her a big hug. But it's not that I was regretting anything. It was just like, wow, like, hello, Saliha, you were amazing. But it's amazing how the universe gives you different signs and ways to get to more connect with yourself. So I think that was a big way to connect with myself and understand that it all comes back to me now when I'm podcasting. All that experience of loving what I wanted to do, it's kind of like that. It's like recording people, talking to people. I always love doing that, and I'm so grateful for the days where I stand and it's what I'm doing. And there's a lot of self-growth to do. There's a lot of things to learn. And I'm so grateful to be on this podcast today. Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome, Saliha. And it's great to have you back on. And I think, what you're doing is really, really, lovely and great. And I think all the things that you have done, previously all led up to this like moment, isn't it? And then, you know, it all kind of like builds together. And I think, you know, you're doing something really positive, and you know, I'm very grateful and humbled to, you know, connect with you, and you know, to be able to share, you know, these experiences, and for you to, you know, provide value to other people in your podcast as well, and you know, for what we're talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I'm grateful too, and we're hopefully going to be on the next podcast, and
Yeah, of
going to be
course.
telling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad we did all of that today, and yeah,
yeah,
thank
no,
you.
same here. No, you're welcome. But no, have a great evening, and see you next time.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Bye.